Okay, hi you guys. I am very, very happy to introduce you to Erin Stanczyk, who I've gotten to know through social media for the past couple of years. And then when my own Erin and I moved down to Southwest Florida, met them personally around Christmas time this year. And she has a social media presence, website, YouTube channel, Instagram called Eat, Move, Rest, and she happens to be coming to the end of her third pregnancy, and she's been plant-based focused and vegan focused and very nutrition focused for how many years, Erin?
It's been almost a decade now.
Okay. And she's now 37 and 3, 37 and 4, something like that, with baby number 3. And she's got two gorgeous super kids called Max and Evelyn, right?
Yeah.
And they're what, 5 and almost 3?
Yep.
Okay, so she's going to have a newborn one of these days, and I just want to let her talk. And the real focus, this probably won't be very long, but the real focus is encouragement and talking about especially prenatal supplements during pregnancy. Because I've been getting a lot of questions lately in the office as far as which vitamin D and omega-3 supplements, which prenatal vitamin. So I just wanted her to come on and introduce herself and tell us a little bit about the supplements. And don't forget to talk about smoothies and all the other goodies that you guys do.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, I guess just taking it back to why I got decided to go plant-based, decided to get healthier in general was because in high school I was an athlete, straight A student on honor roll. My mom definitely let us eat the full spectrum of the standard American diet. We had plenty of fast food, but also she fixed us so many healthy smoothies and salads and nutritious dinners. But then when I went to college, I kind of felt like I was a fish out of water because I didn't even know how to boil a pot of water. So I was living off of beef jerky and ramen noodles and whatever I could store in my mini fridge. And then just, staying out late, no longer in sports, decided I didn't feel like I had to exercise. Binge drinking became the norm, and just, social life kind of dominated, and I kind of put academics on the back burner. And before I knew it, it's like wasn't opening my blinds in the morning. I was sleeping all hours of the day. And then all of a sudden I had gained a significant amount of weight. I would say more than the freshman 15. And I think it just caught up with me one day because I was feeling just a lot of those first feelings of depression and anxiety, and just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Like, I'm not getting good grades anymore. I was put on academic probation. And so, long story short, a lot of that kind of turned into a manifestation of physical symptoms that were very disheartening, especially just being like a young 20 something. And all of a sudden, I was having like hormonal issues and being placed on hormonal birth control to, quote, regulate my cycle. And then a lot of like brain fog. And I was already a very socially anxious, shy, awkward person. So feeling like I had this like cloud looming over my brain all the time. And like it just made it more difficult to like be social, to communicate. And, I started to have like numbness and tingling in my extremities and a lot of like breathing issues, to the point where it was very debilitating and it was interrupting my sleep on a nightly basis. And my dad, being a physician, and my uncles and grandpas, I had doctors all around me. I would frequently go in and have complaints. And so my dad finally decided, okay, let's see some specialists. So I did like MRIs and CT scans, and I was kind of, becoming best friends with Google, who was telling me I was going to die, which is what you don't want to hear. Like, there's not really a solution. It's just whatever you search is like you're getting the worst case scenario. Um, and then from there, like my results were coming back fine. Like I had myself convinced that it had to be like the onset of MS or some type of autoimmune type of disorder based on what my symptoms were. but there were no lesions on my brain, and doctors would just kind of poo-poo me and say it's panic and anxiety disorder and whatever you want to call it. There was definitely like this state of dis-ease. And honestly, I was like, in hindsight, it's like I wasn't doing myself any favors. Why would I expect to feel good when I wasn't taking care of myself in any way, shape, or form? So then I kind of started going back to Google, and rather than searching symptoms, I started searching solutions. And I was coming across a lot of information on food as medicine and diet and lifestyle. And it just seemed very like woo-woo to me, like that, yeah, whatever, you know? Um, but at the same time, towards the end of college and graduating, got together with my now husband, Dusty, and he was kind of in a similar situation where he was having like not so great symptoms. We're like, why do we not feel good in our 20s? So we decided to go to a series of health coaching certification conferences across the country. Just because I think we were looking for our own solutions, but we also wanted to be able to like help other people. It was something we were passionate about. And I think that's what a lot of people end up doing is like finding a profession in health and wellness out of like seeking their own health and wellness. And we got certified. And along the way, it seemed like there was that message again about food as medicine and lifestyle choices, and genetics play such a small role compared to like what choices we're making on a daily basis. And then from there, I actually my uncle, who's a cardiologist, invited us to listen to a speaker at a local hospital back in Nebraska, where we're from, and ended up being Dr. Esselstyn, who is very like well known in the plant-based world. And I had my degree in biology, so the things that he was sharing made complete sense to me. It's like I would see a graph or a chart or an image, and it really clicked with me because I'm like, once I learn something, then I can't unlearn it. And it kept going through my mind. So I was like, let's just try it for 40 days. We decided to go vegetarian for Lent
Now,
and felt
what year do you think this was when you first met Esselstyn? Or
that was probably like 2014 or so.
okay, because Forks Over Knives came out in 11. So
Yeah.
that was pretty close to that time period. Interesting.
Mhm. Yeah.
But you
So
had never heard of Forks Over Knives prior to that.
no. So
Okay.
it was like a whole new world. He had food there to sample, hippie food.
Right.
And we went vegetarian for 40 days because we were afraid that vegan would kill us, to be honest. And then afterwards, we kind of bounced back, but then we're like, well, let's just not bring like animal products into the home. We can treat ourselves when we go out to eat, but we were just finding that we were feeling better. So we gave ourselves time to like go back into it and eliminate things naturally and slowly as we developed new recipes and found alternatives. But I could not let go of the eggs. Like I was so afraid because I needed the protein and the omega-3s. And so I was eating like scrambled eggs multiple times a day. Um, and we became kind of health nuts. Like it was fun to go in and get our blood work done at my dad's clinic, kind of like, being this former straight A student, it was kind of like I wanted that straight A report card on my blood work too. But it was actually showing that my cholesterol was going up and up and up, and heart disease runs in both my mom's and dad's side of the family. I actually lost both of my grandpas recently, my mom's dad and my dad's dad. They struggled with heart disease on and off their entire lives, bypasses and all that kind of stuff. So of course they were telling me, this is genetic, it's hereditary, you're probably going to want to go on a statin drug. And still being in my 20s, I was just like, okay, fine, but for how long? And, they're saying, well, probably forever. It's better than having, a heart attack. And that seemed very, very just not right to me to have that be just, for the rest of my life. So I decided, okay, I'm just going to cut the eggs. That's the only thing left. And within a couple of months, I went back and got my blood work done, and everything was within what Dr. Greger, another well-known plant-based physician, would call the heart attack proof range. And that was like all of the evidence I needed that like going fully plant-based was working for me and that I just needed to stick with it. And now I make tofu scramble and there's no dietary cholesterol and there's plenty of protein and calcium and iron and healthy fats. So long story short, it took us a while to transition, but I truly did heal from all of the symptoms that I was having. I feel so clear and light and energized, and I'm active on a daily basis. And then that's when we kind of decided, let's start putting ourselves out there. Let's make a name for ourselves. Let's figure out who we are. That's what everybody was doing. You create your social media account, you make your website, make a blog, and just started sharing recipes and things like that. And then when we decided to make a YouTube channel, I feel like that's when people really started to follow and get to know us, get to trust us, take our advice. So that's kind of how Eat, Move, Rest was born. We were just like, it's just really the three things that we all do every day, but we could all be doing better.
Yeah,
Led to
absolutely.
hosting retreats in Costa Rica, which is honestly like been the most rewarding because rather than us preaching, it's us actually fully immersed in the lifestyle from sun up to sundown in one of the most beautiful places in the world where it's the easiest to do these things naturally. So that's been really fun getting to, connect with our friends and followers from all over the world in that way.
Okay. And then again, approximately 5 years ago, or probably 6 years ago, you were your first pregnancy. Were there
Mhm.
concerns at that time? Did you get input from maybe the uncles and the father with regards to pregnancy and being plant-based?
I think honestly, like maybe a little bit, but my dad really trusted us just because we had really been like gung ho about educating ourselves. We had gone to a handful of plant-based conferences and all of that. And I already had, 4, maybe 5 years under my belt, which helped a lot. And on top of that, social media, like there were just so many people who were already like pioneering the path that I followed and looked to for input. There's accounts like Plant-Based Juniors, who are two certified nutritionist moms who have young children giving awesome advice. And then there's the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine that put out like a plant-based quick start guide that really helped me. And then even some other quote influencers who had already had several of their own plant-based kids. So I think all of that kind of helped me a lot to navigate, which is another reason, we wanted to be on social media, is to be part of that movement and part of that community because it's so hard to find the information in the mainstream.
Right. Oh, that's
So,
one thing that's not lacking. There is so much momentum in that area. I mean, you guys got involved with it way before I did. I would say, if I had to say, I'd say I'm about 3.5 years into it now.
mhm.
And when I started, I mean, I must get 30 recipes a day on my phone from Instagram alone.
Yeah,
And I send patients to the $5 app that Plant Strong has, or Forks Over Knives, technically.
yeah.
That has tons of recipes and things. So anyway, so did you change your lifestyle at all when you were pregnant? Did anything
Um,
change?
No, I just kept doing what I was already doing. I was very active. I was an avid runner, so I continued to run throughout my pregnancy and would constantly get questions of, should you be running during pregnancy? And I think a lot of it comes down to setting whatever your body is kind of conditioned to beforehand that can help set you up for success. It makes it easier to be able to continue those healthy habits during pregnancy. So
Right.
I think that
And the
helps.
obstetric line on that is whatever you've been doing pre-pregnancy, keep it up. I mean, unless there's, circumstances that would change that. But if the pregnancy's going fine and you've been a runner, then keep running till you start contracting.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And
And
that
that's,
might even help at the end.
yeah, definitely.
Great. So what kind of supplements do you take? Because I would argue that probably most pregnant people take a prenatal vitamin and that's it.
Yeah. Um, Well, I hung on to my individual liquid vitamins that I found to be like the most important, especially on a plant-based diet. So B12 and D3 being the main two. Um, I just feel like they're just super important and not necessarily to take them every day, but just to have them on hand to take every once in a while. But yes, I do take a whole foods based prenatal multi. So I just always look for in a good multi that it's organic and that it's sourced from whole foods. So if you look at the ingredient label on the jar, it's going to list out like a whole bunch of fruits and vegetables. And so, for example, it'll have folate in it as opposed to the synthetic form, which is folic acid,
Right.
which I just read some negative, there can be like some negatives with. So,
Methylfolate or folate is better, but especially if you happen to be the 30–40% of the population with what's called an MTHFR gene mutation, then it's really important to have something other than folic acid.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So those are the main ones. And then also, I think an omega-3, which being plant-based, I take an algae-based omega that contains EPA and DHA. And then a probiotic, I think is really helpful too for gut health and just issues like GBS that are difficult if you have to navigate that whole situation. So that could be really beneficial as well. And then like I honestly consider our green smoothie in the mornings to be like a liquid multi or like a salad in a glass, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I don't discount that either. Like basically all of the foods that we're eating day in and day out, especially during pregnancy, it's all about hypernourishment, which I know is like almost next to impossible in first trimester for a lot of people. And I was no exception, even being plant-based. Like I thought when I got pregnant that, I would kind of get to skirt around all of the nausea and morning sickness, but hormones have their own say. It's not necessarily like, oh my gosh, I'm not taking good care of myself. That's not necessarily the case. It's just hormonal
What,
fluctuations and
what I tell patients routinely is if they're having a lot of nausea and vomiting, to actually stop taking their prenatals
Mhm.
because the extra iron in the pills are going to aggravate that. So just take a non prenatal vitamin if they need to. And
Mhm.
because I would rather have them keeping fluids in and keeping nutrition in versus making sure that that one vitamin pill got in. And the extra iron is particularly needy later on in pregnancy, anyways. So for the first trimester, and you'd be surprised how much that will help people just to stop taking the prenatal vitamins because everybody thinks, well, I've got to take them because it's so important. And in
Mhm.
the bigger picture, yes, but at that particular time, if again, it's better to stay hydrated than it is to worry about the prenatal vitamin. So that helps a
Yeah.
lot too. Now, I'm going to ask
Actually, I
you,
should note
how,
too. Let me
what's
note
that?
this. I never threw up with any of my pregnancies. So for me, it was just nausea. So maybe that part, maybe the plant-based diet was helping to kind of make it less, but the nausea was still unbearable. And because it wasn't just in the morning. I was like, I don't know why they call it morning sickness because this is all day. And then also the food aversions. So if you are trying to eat healthy and all of a sudden you can't stand to look at a salad, like don't feel bad because I went through that and it is no fun. But honestly, I just looked for like what's the best option, what's the best choice I can make. So if all I'm craving is like a bland pasta instead of just like a plain white unrefined pasta, I would opt for like a chickpea pasta or a red lentil pasta that's really iron and protein rich, so I'm at least getting some extra nutrition that way.
And
That
I
kind
would
of got
think
me.
smoothies too, especially like maybe more banana based that are a little more mild, and throw because you can hide so many amazing things like kale with bananas.
Yeah, definitely. I noticed that I had heard of the brat diet. So bananas, rice, applesauce, and toast were things that appealed to me. So I did a lot of like plain banana nice cream smoothies and try to sneak in some greens and stuff.
Now, everybody's going to ask, but how did you get enough protein if you didn't eat animals?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I probably eat more variety and get more protein on a
Oh,
plant-based diet. just with the abundance of varieties of greens, grains, beans, legumes. So we do a lot of like red lentil based like soups, stews, and curries. And I'm always soaking like chickpeas or black beans or some kind of bean to add in. And yeah, I mean, it adds up throughout the
And
day.
not only is it just as much or more protein, but it's more absorbable too.
Mhm.
So, as Dr. Greger likes to say, ounce for ounce, broccoli has just as much protein as red meat, which is
Yeah.
surprising. I mean, beans I can kind of get, but broccoli did kind of surprise me a little bit.
Well, yeah, and then on top of that, you're also getting an abundance of fiber, which is another issue that I really, really struggled with back in college, was just really poor, sluggish digestion. And I became obsessed with counting grams of fiber. And I was looking in the wrong places. I was buying the things that were labeled as fiber one cereals and bars and yogurts, as opposed to just like shopping the produce section, like the things that don't have a nutrition label on them are so rich in fiber that I mean, that's what was a big game changer too.
Yeah. And just to go back a little bit about the omega 3s, a lot of patients are going to want to take fish oil. And the reason that you don't have to be plant-based eating to want plant-based omega 3, because it's the algae that the fish eat, and that's why the fish oil has the omega 3s. The benefit is you don't have to worry about contamination of the fish oil with the heavy metals. When I lived on the East Coast, the Chesapeake Bay, which is unfortunately because I love the Chesapeake, but the Chesapeake is probably one of the most polluted bodies of water around our coast. And it's because there's millions, probably 10, 15 million people around its shoreline, and the average depth is only 20 feet. So it's a very shallow area that's populated by a lot of people. But the fish oil capsules come from the Menhaden in the Chesapeake. So there's an example of why you want to go algae based
Yeah.
for your omega 3s.
Yeah,
Cool.
definitely cut out the middleman.
Exactly. So any other encouragement? I mean, I'm kind of we're running out of time here a little bit, but any other encouragement for anybody who's watching this for the first time and is kind of new to this whole arena, other than to follow you guys on social media because you'll be encouraged. They have great videos, at least longer videos weekly, right? And many times during the week on Instagram, especially in YouTube.
Mhm. Yeah, I would say just get through the first trimester and then after that really, really hyper nourish. And like I said, like my go-to green smoothie that I have in the mornings, like I crave it. I look forward to it. It tastes amazing. Our friends and followers swear by it too. So if you're skeptical, at least give it a try. And Dusty, my husband, always says that you could probably get by with French fries for the rest of the day as long as you get in that green smoothie. But it truly does. It does the trick.
Or what I say is the smoothie and a bowl of beans, of mixed beans. I make a bean soup that has probably 10, 15 different things and beans and lentils in it. And if
Mhm.
you just did that smoothie and that thing of beans together, that's probably 50, 60 grams of fiber. And it's
Mhm.
got all the different nutrients and all the different fibers. And then just tack on additionally whatever you want of those things, and you're going to be just light years above or ahead of the average person. So
Definitely. And then,
cool.
just when you're eating healthy, you have more energy. You're going to want to move your body. And then when you move your body, you kind of fatigue yourself and you sleep so much better at night. And then it's kind of like that eat, move, rest hamster wheel, or like when you're on getting on a train and it starts at a standstill. It takes a while to gain that momentum, but once you get into that cycle, like you kind of become unstoppable and it becomes second nature, at which point you don't really have to psych yourself out to do these things. It's, you're not playing that like mental tennis game. Should I or should I not? After a while, it just, you feel good. So you want to keep doing those things. And
Right.
yeah.
And we haven't even touched on the whys. I mean, anybody who talks to me, and I'm sure on a lot of your material too, the epigenetics. Every day we learn more about the benefits of nutrition as it relates to epigenetics. not only would I say as an OBGYN that the pregnancy will be healthier, less bad stuff of everything, less preterm labor, less preeclampsia, less gestational diabetes, but also benefits for you physically, the mom, benefits for the baby, and those TED Talks showing the benefits for the third and maybe fourth generations are just phenomenal. So, I
Mhm.
mean, you're giving your child and your future family the absolute best gift you can give by helping yourself and helping them and helping everybody. And, the science is just going to keep evolving on epigenetics as it relates to the microbiome and how it relates to pregnancy. And it's just a super, super exciting time to be in medicine. I mean, I get charged about it. Every one of my patients who's watching this, who've interacted with me personally, will know that I'll get on one topic and just go and go and go. And sometimes it makes scheduling a little bit of a problem, but it just shows my enthusiasm behind it. So when I see young couples like you and young families like you, it's just very, very encouraging for the next generation.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I thank you very much. All right, so tell them where to go again.
You can find our website, which is eatmoverest.com, and I answer all of my Instagram DMs. So at Erin Stanczyk, it's ErinStanczyk. If you guys have any specific questions or if you want me to point you towards a resource.
All right. And you did put out a short video of your prenatal supplements and vitamins not too long ago, correct?
Yeah.
So have people seek that out as well. And I'm kind of trying to pursue what I'm going to have as kind of my official go-tos because I get asked it a lot. And there isn't any one prenatal at this point that fits, clicks all the boxes. But there is a guy named what's Mercola's first name? Joseph? Dr. McCullough,
Yeah.
Joseph McCullough. He's got a supplement company with excellent products, and they're in the process of putting together a prenatal vitamin. So my guess is when that comes out, that will probably be one item that I would recommend. And hopefully they'll have the omega-3s in it. They'll have the adequate vitamin D. Again, I didn't mention it just now, but make sure you get your vitamin D above 50. That alone, if nothing else changes, will improve the pregnancy and just it helps. Vitamin D is like the magic hormone slash vitamin. So
And I will say also, beyond pregnancy, postpartum, my recoveries were ridiculously just pain-free, a breeze. So I, again, attribute that to diet and lifestyle.
absolutely. And just a reminder too, organic, organic, organic. The deeper I go down that path, the more convinced of how important that is as well, to just make sure to the absolute best one can do. And it's not easy. I mean, honestly, I think going clean and being organic is harder than being plant-based because, glyphosate, zeranol, atrazine, it's in so many things, but it can be done. It takes intention and it takes effort. So
Definitely.
cool. All right.
Yep.
Well, thanks a lot.
Yep.
We will hope for you a quick and easy labor.
Thank you. And thanks for having me on, and good luck. Best wishes to everybody else as well who's in their pregnancy.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Good night. Bye, everyone.